Is this not recording? All right, Mercury retrograde. I can't record. I don't know what the hell's going on here. One moment.
Hello.
Hey, how's it going? All right. We are recording now, finally. Thank you, guys. Thank you for your patience, and thank you for joining me today. Yes, others will join us as we progress. Today, we're talking about the Jupiter Saturn conjunction. This is a 20-year cycle between two planets that are what we call social planets, right? When these planets align, a completely new group of people begin to take over in terms of world rulership. All right, this is a transit that resets governments. It changes the way governments are structured. It breaks down and rebuilds them. Every time these planets align, there is a shift in political power here in the United States. And we're going to get into those things, as well as what each of us can do individually over the next 2 decades to take advantage of these transits. Okay. Now, we're going to start with a couple of quotes on wealth, because Saturn and Jupiter individually give indication and correspondence to wealth and to wisdom. All right. And I want to drop a couple of quotes on wealth, right? And I feel it's important that we talk about this from the standpoint of what it takes, what is required to acquire wealth. Now, what we won't hear today, what we won't be talking about is how to make money the quick way and the fast way. We are not talking about fast money. We are not talking about the lottery. We are not talking about quick fixes. We are talking about the long game in terms of building wealth over a long period of time. Okay. Okay. All right. So we're going to present this in 3 parts. First part is going to be what I'm talking about now. Jupiter and Saturn in the conjunction. Part 2, we're going to talk about a business opportunity that ties directly into this transit. All right, a business opportunity that each one of you, it's a business opportunity, and it offers services for those people who don't have any desire to be in business. Right, it offers services where you can keep more of your money that you earn on an hourly wage or in a salary position. If you're a W-2 worker, you can benefit from it. And the third part of this, we're going to do a reading for each rising sign in terms of activities and businesses and potential jobs that you can pursue over the next 20 years that can help you build wealth. All right. So again, we're not going to be talking about lottery or the games of chance. We're not going to be talking about quick fixes that cause you to rain money. We're not going to be discussing new age spiritual stuff. We are talking about the long game of wealth through Jupiter and Saturn's transit. This is a 20-year transit. They align every 20 years, okay? Now, in terms of wealth, Here's some quotes on wealth. You can be rich by having more than you need, which is Jupiter, or by needing less than you have, which is Saturn. Jupiter is about expansion, and Jupiter favors us overindulging in things and doing too much and going too far, okay? Where Saturn is about less. Less is more with Saturn, okay? Saturn is about restriction. Saturn is about contraction. Saturn is about less. And in some cases, Saturn can talk about lack, okay? Another quote, if you want to be wealthy, if you want wealth, be wealth. Talk it, think it, prepare yourself to have it. He who wishes to be wealthy in a day will be hanged in a year. So in other words, fast money is the quickest way to jail, basically, with that one, all right? Fast money is no good money. The third quote here, wealth is quiet, rich is loud, poor is flashy. It's been said that Warren Buffett drove for 26 years a 1984 Honda Accord. This man is one of the richest men on the planet. He drove a Honda Accord. Newly found wealth buys Lamborghinis and Porsches and the flashiest cars, right? And while I use flashy for the word for rich, the poor is the worst with it by owning the nicest car one can buy, but living in an apartment. That's flashy, right? And none of that favors Saturn and Jupiter, all right? Finally, quote on wealth, another quote on wealth. Wealth flows from energy and ideas. And that's by and large what we're going to be talking about today. Jupiter represents how we wish to grow and how we go about expanding and improving our lives. Jupiter asks, what I need to do in this lifetime to commit to something greater than myself. Words that correspond with Jupiter are abundance, aspiration, chance, creative visualization, higher specialized education, expansive, extravagance, future, faith and belief, good fortune, risks and taking a chance, the higher mind, hope, inflation, that's key, inflation. That's key in terms of the business opportunity in part two, all right? Luck and magnanimousness, new horizons and optimism, opulence, philosophy, religion and rituals, self-improvement, success, wisdom, wealth, and good luck are all associated with Jupiter. Some keywords, and actually, before we get into the keywords of Jupiter, Saturn represents how we establish structures in our lives to preserve ourselves through some form of effort. And it also speaks to what drives us to develop a safe and secure foundation, okay? Some of the key words that correspond with Saturn are ambition, authority, boundaries, status, career, law and order, limits, structure, conservation, conservatism, mastery, material security, vocation, wisdom, wealth, practicality, reality check, responsibility, self-awareness, and seriousness, as well as self-restriction, all right? Now, Jupiter and Saturn, when they align, they give us an opportunity to expand over a long period of time. Jupiter is the planet of expansion, and Saturn is the planet of contraction and restriction. They're diametrically opposed on one level, but on another level, they are corresponding with each other in different ways. For instance, Jupiter is wisdom gained through experience in specialized acquired knowledge. Okay? This can be the wisdom of a surgeon, the wisdom of a doctor, the wisdom of a judge who's also ruled by Jupiter in the ninth house, the wisdom of a longtime attorney. You know, he's acquired a bunch of knowledge through experience and the expertise of studying law over a period of time. Okay. Saturn is wisdom along those same lines, but a little different. Saturn is wisdom over a long period of time through the practice of the acquired knowledge, right? Where Jupiter is the acquired knowledge through the study of a thing. For Saturn, it is the practice over a long period of time over that specialized knowledge. All right. Now they both correspond with wealth as well. Jupiter is wealth in terms of opulence and glitzy and glamorous things, where Saturn is wealth in terms of real value, like real estate, property, land, fine gems, you know, stones that come from the earth. What's the word I'm looking for? Precious metals and gems, things that come from the earth. That's Saturn's an earth sign. Saturn rules the earth, and wealth that is real in terms of real value. For instance, you're going to see a lot of people you watch the price of gold and the price of silver and other precious metals will go up over the next couple of years as we get through the coming recession that these two planets correspond with. Okay. Now let's talk about these two in terms of what they mean when they align. Over the course of history, particularly in the United States, these two planets have corresponded with a shift in terms of who is in power and a shift in terms of political power. And since the 1840s, well, from the 1840s up until 1960, that shift in power corresponded with the death of a president through assassination or through natural causes. Okay? In 1840, these two planets align, or actually it was, so let me back up. In years that there was a presidential election that was an even year ending in 0. The party that was in power that year was given the power, but it was also taken away from them. And I'll explain that. In 1840, there was an election here in the United States. Okay? 1840, there was an election. 1841, Jupiter and Saturn aligned in a conjunction. 1841, a president was assassinated. 1860, Saturn and Jupiter, 1860, there was an election. President elected in that year was Lincoln. 1861, Saturn and Jupiter aligned in a conjunction. 1865, President Lincoln was assassinated. 1880, there was an election. 1881, the planets Jupiter and Saturn align in a conjunction. That same year, the president assassinated. 1900, there was an election. 1901 and 02, these planets aligned in a conjunction. 1903, a president was assassinated. I cannot find my notes on which presidents was which in those years that I did not name the president. I thought I had them, but I don't. So I will continue on. 1920, there was an election. 1921, there was, 1921, the planets aligned conjunct. 1923, the president died in office of a heart attack. 1940, these planets align in a conjunction. 1940 as well, I'm sorry, there was an election. 1941, the planets aligned conjunct. 1945, what happened? President Franklin Delano Roosevelt died in office. 1960, same cycle, an election. 61, they aligned conjunct. 1963, President Kennedy's head was blown off on national television, right? 1980 is when the cycle of death ended. Oh, and by the way, the cycle of death also corresponds to Tecumseh's revenge, and this was an Indian chief who cursed the United States in the 1840s as he was battling, and actually in the 1820s, as he was battling President Harrison, who was the president who died in the 1840s. He cursed the United States, and it is said that those presidents that died in those even years was a result of Tecumseh's curse. Now, there's theories that every president should have died in every election, but it corresponded with the even years. All right, so let's fast forward to 1980. 1980, there was an election that brought in Ronald Reagan. 1981, the planets aligned conjunct. 1981 as well, President Ronald Reagan was shot, but he was not killed. However, what happened at this time was a shift in power in terms of the agenda for the neoconservative movement. This movement was born then, and it still continues on today, although Donald Trump, the current president, is doing his able best to dismantle that. Every president since the 1980 election has been on the same overall neoconservative agenda with the strong foreign policy, the same foreign policy, which was oil in the Middle East. Okay, 2000, these planets align. Now, this 2000 alignment corresponds with what we're going through right now, because we're going to see a reoccurrence of that. Okay, in 2000, these planets align conjunct in the sign of Taurus. At the same time, Mercury was going retrograde, Mercury went retrograde, I believe, on the day of the election, and that election was thrown into chaos. Gore won the popular vote, but it was given to George Bush, and this continued on the neoconservative movement. This was the power was stolen from the neo-Democrats, which Bill Clinton rolled in at the square in the 92 election. The opposition, the 92 election, was the opposition from the 1980 conjunction of Jupiter and Saturn, okay? And this brought in a lot of the policies that people are pissed off about today. Those 1980s is when a lot of the tax laws were starting to come in, and a lot of the deregulation in business came in, and this allowed the rich, including our current president, to get wildly and madly rich. And this was the start of the shift in wealth from the middle class of the United States, which was the biggest economic group in the 80s, to now it being the wealthy, being the biggest class, the most wealthy class, I should say, in the United States right now. All of that began in the 1980s with Reagan's deregulation and the cutting of taxes from the rich, cutting their tax rates down to nothing. All of this began in 1980s, It was continue on in the 2000s, and here we are now faced with this again, right? A few weeks ago, people were pissed off. People were pissed off at our current president because it was announced that he was only paying $750 a year in taxes. But he didn't do anything wrong. He did nothing wrong. He took advantage of the laws that were on the book. Right? Now, it is the age, we are ushering in the age of Aquarius. Okay? And the age of Aquarius brings new knowledge. We are in the internet age. If you don't know anything, it's because you don't want to know. Information is at our fingertips right now. We have information at our fingertips. And we are in a cycle right now where there is contraction going on. Jobs are being lost, right? Jobs are being lost left and right with this pandemic. Not only that, but this transit of Jupiter and Saturn brings into play contraction. You know, so people are getting fired and losing their jobs because companies see the handwriting on the wall. This pandemic allowed a lot of companies to cut salaries, to force layoffs, to reduce payroll so as to increase profits. Okay? We are in a period of time now where we need to make cuts in all sorts of places to conserve our finances. We are in a Saturn period. Saturn is about conservation and cutting the fat, trimming the fat, and planting seeds for long-term growth. Planting seeds for long-term growth. With that said, I want to bring on Billy Sanford, who's going to talk to you guys about an opportunity where you can save hard-earned money that you make every week that the government is siphoning from your income. All right, Billy.
Yes, Dad, I'm here.
Let's talk about this. What you got going on, man? What's going on in your world that you can bring to the handful of people that are watching us today?
First of all, thank you, Dad. I mean, I'm an educator. I live in the DC area, Waldorf Mountain, right outside of DC. And I've been in finances for the last 20 years. You know, I mean, I'm an educator, but I'm also a financial planner. So now we are talking to people about how you can take your income and shift it back into your household. Because a lot of times the government gets you in debt, but we teach people how the government can also get you out of debt. So we focus on 4 areas. We focus on inflation, we focus on taxes, we focus on debt, and we focus on big business. So inflation takes your money before you even see it, because things gradually goes up, and there's no way for you to actually keep up with inflation if you don't actually make more money. Taxes, we talk about, takes the first 1/3 of your money. So if you look at your paycheck, you have a gross and you have your net. You never bring home your gross, you always bring home your net. So if you think about it hypothetically, you actually work in the first 3 months or 4 months out of a year for free. Because if you look at what you're making, you're not actually bringing home that. So we teach people how to shift their income back into them, back into their households. Next, we talk about debt. Debt is what we call the generational curse, because debt is something that is going to always revolve. Like, we in debt, we teach our children to go to school, they get debt, so we end up passing that debt down because we don't understand how to manage debt. The next is big business. Big business are the holidays that we have. Every year, the government finds a way to take your money by having you spend your money on some type of holiday. So we teach people how to bring money back into their household. And I want everybody to take a note of this. you must find a way to incorporate a 1099 into your income portfolio. A 1099 is called non-employee compensation. That is income that when you make it, you make the money, you spend the money, and Uncle Sam tax that money last. So if you make $100,000 on your job, Uncle Sam is going to take 25% of that money up top. If you make $100,000 in a business, you can spend $40,000 to run your business, and then Uncle Sam is going to only tax $50,000. So that's a big difference. So we teach people how to shift their income back into their household. And what I would like to share with everyone is maybe 4 months ago, as being an educator, I was able to bring in $15,000 per year back into my household. And I was able to shave my mortgage of 4 years down to 9 years, because I'm taking the money that I was spending, that I was giving Uncle Sam in federal and state taxes back to my house. Now I'm paying off my mortgage to now be debt free. So the name of my company is MWR. It's called Making Wealth Real. And for those of you that are interested in learning more about it, tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock, we're gonna have a webinar, and I will share that information with you, Darren, so you can share it with the people on the call. Anyone have any questions for me? Because I think Darren blacked out. Anybody have any questions?
Thank you, sir. Yeah, anybody, any questions? And now's the time for the questions for Mr. Stanford. With the opportunity here again, if you are a W-2 worker, you can benefit from this. You know, if you are a 1099, you can likely benefit from it. Whatever your situation is, there's something here for you. You know, so anybody have questions? Ask now. We'll give you a few minutes to ask questions. We'll take a 10-minute break, and then we'll get into the readings.
I have a question for Mr. Big. When you say the business aspect, do you have to acquire LLC first in order to do all this, or will we be able to just do that by just filling out the 1099 form?
You can actually connect with Darren, and you don't have to actually have an LLC. Actually, having an LLC only gives you like 130 deductions on your taxes. Having a 1099 actually gives you 435 deductions. So it's good to have an LLC, but it's also good to actually have a 1099 because that's non-employee compensation. So to answer your question, no, you don't have to have an LLC, but if you do have an LLC and you have a 1099 and you have a W-2, you basically get the best of both worlds. So you can actually maximize, you can actually use the government, the money that the government is taking from you, you could use that money back to actually become wealthy.
Billy, we got a question in the chat. She asks, I am a 1099 worker. How do I help my children set this up?
Being a 1099 worker, the best thing to do is follow up with Darren. After this call, he can invite you to one of our wealth webinars. We have one tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock. It's open to the public, and just learn how you can maximize the deductions. And sometimes it's being a 1099 earner, it may not benefit you, but we also talk about land banking. Land banking is buying land in the projected area of growth. So imagine, let's say 40 years ago, if you was able to buy a piece of land at Disney, imagine how much that land is worth now. So we talk to people about land banking. We talk to people about being your own bank. We talk to people about raising your credit scores. We talk to people about shifting your income, everything that you have to do to keep money into your house. So Darren can actually give you an invitation tomorrow to the webinar, and you can join the webinar and get all the free information, you know, from some of the mentors that we have that's teaching us how to become wealthy.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that. Anyone else? Any other questions?
1099. Keep that 1099. It's a very good tool to have in your income portfolio.
Thanks, Bill. Thank you, man. Appreciate you. Any other questions? Drop them in the chat or ask it live. Doesn't matter. Going once, going twice.
And then let me add to
Yes, sir.
we are talking. the thing that I love what you said is we have to learn how to not only build wealth, but we need to learn how to start building generational wealth.
Yes.
We have to learn how to start leaving our children and our grandchildren assets instead of liabilities.
Yes.
So we teach people how to actually take the money that you have to build wealth. And I want you all to understand income and cash flow is two totally different concepts. Income is what you bring in. Cash flow is what you keep. So we teach people how to expand their cash flow. And another quote, and then I'll let you get back to you. You should never pay this month's bills with this month's income. You should always have residual income. Residual income is the income that comes to you every single month, whether you work or not. That's what the wealthy do. They don't work this week to get paid next week. They work 3 and 4 years ago to keep on getting money today. So we teach people how to build residual income and how to build passive income. So that when you leave here, you still have income coming in that your children can continue to build a legacy on.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for that.
In the chat, Darren.
All right, my friend. I appreciate you. All right, so that is that portion. So again, guys, we are talking about long-term wealth, okay? I've been preparing clients, my own personal clients, since last year. I was telling clients going back to June of last year that coming in, my words were, from March 30th to June 24th of 2020, this is a very fertile time to plant seeds, not seeds that will grow and sprout and grow over months and weeks, but planting seeds that have the potential to grow over years and decades. My words were, this is a reset of 3 different cycles. It's a Mars-Jupiter cycle that took place in February, a Mars-Saturn and a Mars-Pluto cycle. All of those cycles reset February, March, that's a 2-year cycle. Then we also had Jupiter aligning with Saturn and with Pluto. When Jupiter aligns with Pluto, that's a 12.5-year cycle. And when Jupiter aligns with Saturn, that is a 19.5 to 20-year cycle, okay? Now, we also had Saturn and Pluto aligning in a conjunction, and that cycle runs 33 to 38 years. That's 3 major cycles, and 4 if we throw Mars in. 4 major cycles, all resetting at one time. And we all know somebody who, from March, when the quarantine began, through the beginning of summer, people came the hell up and made crazy money, while many of us lost our jobs. Many of us lost our way of living. Other people turned hobbies into money. Other people found businesses, home-based businesses, and are making a killing today. Well, I told my clients that March 30th to June 24th was a sneak preview of 2021 and beyond. A sneak preview of 2021 and beyond. So now, here we are, Saturn and Jupiter steaming towards the conjunction, which profects on December 21st. Now is the time. Now, through November of 2021, this is the time to plant seeds, to begin building businesses, to begin starting projects, long-term projects that you commit to for years. And if you stick with it, whatever this idea is that you have, If you stick with it, you can give yourself and your family, your grandchildren, reparations. There are companies that when this conjunction, when Jupiter and Saturn were aligning in the late 1990s, there were companies in their infancy in those days, and companies that were toddlers and young children. Companies like Amazon and Yahoo and eBay, Microsoft, and any other quote unquote web business or internet business. These companies were just getting started when the conjunction formed in Taurus in 2000 and 2001. These companies now, if you had bought stock in Amazon in the early days of Amazon's initial public offering, you have money beyond your wildest dreams and imagination right now. Same holds true with Microsoft and eBay and Yahoo and you name it. You name it. We're hitting the reset of this now. There's going to be new industries that are going to be born in this decade, corresponding with this transit. This transit gives us a new twist, Jupiter, a new twist to an old idea, Saturn, all right? A new twist to an old idea, or making something new out of something old, all right? Now, we're gonna take about a 10-minute break, and then I'm gonna come back and do the readings, okay? So stand by for Oscar Peterson, When the Lights Are Low. And then when this is done, I will do a reading for all 12 signs, all right? Be right back.
Hey, Darren.
Yes, sir.
Hey, Darren.
Yes, sir.
Yes, I was able to talk to my mentor about doing a private Q&A session with anyone that wants to do a private Q&A session.
Yes, sir.
So if anyone hit you directly and they want to actually sit down to talk about finances and investments and way to build multiple streams of income, he's willing to do a private Q&A session with anyone.
Okay. Sweet. That works. That works. All right. We are back. Thanks for the little break here. Musical interlude there. All right. So we'll get into the reading part now. This is basically going to be some ideas based on your ascendant sign and where Capricorn falls in your chart. This will just be some ideas on what you can do in terms of business or an actual job that can help you take advantage. That can help you take advantage of. Oh, I got some glue on. Help you take advantage of the transit here of Jupiter and Saturn through Capricorn. Now, I do want to say this, that this transit favors, so in terms of some of the investments moving forward. Again, we're talking about a new twist on something old, okay? As well as finding value in things that appear to be worthless. So there have been a handful of clients that I've worked with over the last year. And I have encouraged them to, in terms of giving ideas on what to do and how to best take advantage of this transit, real estate, right? Because Jupiter and Saturn both rule real estate, okay? Jupiter rules real estate in terms of the business, the buildings, and the type of real estate. It can be large buildings, large structures, commercial real estate. It can be big, beautiful, opulent homes, okay? And it can be homes in general, right? It can be homes in general as well. But Jupiter and Saturn is real estate in terms of real value, land, right? The acquisition of land. So in the sign of Capricorn, we're talking finding land that seems to be worthless or have very little quote unquote value. So what I've recommended certain clients to do is to go to their city hall, what have you. And so first off, you want to canvass one of the lower the poorer areas in your city or your county or wherever you might be. You know, for instance, I'm in St. Louis. So that would be North City and North County, where and certain places on the south side, and in certain places throughout the city in general, where the poorest of the poor might reside. Okay, so what you want to do is find some dilapidated piece of land. The idea that I give them is you go through some area, for those people who are in St. Louis, go through some area in Walnut Park, right? And there's two houses sandwiching a piece of land where there used to be a house 20 years ago and it burned down and nobody replaced the house and the land just sits there. Now it's in the summertime, it's grown over and it becomes a dump and it's full of glass and rocks and what have you and trash. And in the winter, it's just a piece of vacant land. It's sitting there. And it's probably available for little to no money. I'm recommending clients find those types of things, buy them and hold it. Why? Because one day, gentrification, that's a Jupiter thing. Gentrification is coming, right? So wherever you are, go find a piece of land in a poor area or a building that's burned down and dilapidated, don't have front walls, don't have windows. Find out how much it costs, buy it and hold it and wait for gentrification. Another thing, the industry of energy is changing. Look at Europe, look at Asia. Both continents have countries that are moving away from gasoline to alternate forms of energy. Electricity, solar, thermal, hydro, wind. All of these things are going on. And I believe in I want to say it's in Switzerland, I believe, or the Netherlands. By 2030, there's not going to be any gasoline engines on their roads. So energy is changing. You know, energy is changing. We are seeing Tesla here. Elon Musk has pushed the driverless car idea to the limit, to the point now where most auto manufacturers are just one component away from having cars that are fully automated. Honda has a vehicle that damn near drives itself right now. Ford is rolling out an all-electric Mustang, right? The Tesla has electric cars, 100% electric cars. One moment. Ford had, Tesla, 100% electric cars. So another idea is to align yourself. Before I even say that, J.B. Hunt, Peterbilt, and one other, Freightliner and Peterbilt, I believe, along with J.B. Hunt and Mercedes-Benz, are all, since 2016, they've been working together, collaborating to roll out a driverless 18-wheeler. A driverless 18-wheeler. And what I know in terms of that industry, what I do know is trucking companies, just like cab companies, just like UPS, which is a delivery company, and FedEx, they do not own every vehicle that has its name plastered across the side. Some of those vehicles are owned by individuals who lease their vehicles to these companies, and the company pay them for the use of their truck. I say that with a reason. Driverless vehicles will replace the drivers by 2035 in the United States. It's already beginning now. It's already starting. Okay? Uber said in 2017, Uber told Congress that they were losing money because they have to pay drivers. What? They are losing money because they have to pay drivers. What that means is they want driverless vehicles. But what that also means is that is opportunity for people who put themselves in the position to acquire a fleet of driverless vehicles and lease them on to transportation companies, to livery companies, to delivery companies. This is the wave of the future. That's the wave of the future. Another one, solar technology. There's going to be an application that will help cars that are not fully acclimated or fully implemented with the new age technology. There's going to be a company that will allow you to save on your gasoline bill in the summertime by outfitting your vehicle with a solar panel that charges your engine so that your AC doesn't drag on your fuel. That's coming this decade. That's coming this decade. Hey, Miss Strickland, thanks for joining us. I'm glad you made it. Glad you made it. All right, so that's coming this decade. Those are just a few ideas of what you can get into. Now, here's some other ideas in terms of investing. IPOs, initial public offering. This is getting in on the ground floor of a new company or a company that wants to sell its shares on the open exchange, an IPO. You are looking for IPOs that are related to robotics, to driverless vehicles, to internet technology, the next phase of internet technology as it relates to the big scary monster called 5G. You are looking to invest in that stuff. You don't have to like it. You can get rich off of it though. All right? All you got to do is look for it and wait for it. It's coming. A new twist on old ideas. So again, robotics, solar, technology that helps in terms of healthcare, for instance, some biotech company that, or some pharmaceutical company that comes out with this next generation drug that helps with some disease. All right? Biotech. this stuff is going to be big as well. Okay. GPS, GPS technology, that's about to change. Gaming systems, the gaming systems, this PlayStation 5 is setting the stage for the next generation PlayStation 5 and 5G technology. Once they get that to where it's going to be, video games will become a holographic projection into our rooms. You know, holographic projections along with 3D technology and sensors, where you literally a fighting game, where you literally be able to box this game, box Mike Tyson, right? You'll be able to box Mike Tyson and feel the blows with the next 5G, with 5G technology and the next level of video gaming that's beyond the PlayStation 5. So video gaming is just going to get bigger and bigger. Holographic technology, companies that focus on those types of things. It's just an endless cycle here. Okay, so those are just a few of the ideas that you can look for in terms of future investment. All right, now let's talk about some ideas based on your rising sign, starting with Capricorn rising. Okay, again, the key phrase here, the key we're looking for, a new twist on an old idea. And I could talk an hour on each rising sign. So I only have a few, maybe 6 to 12 ideas based on each rising sign on what you can do with Jupiter and Saturn on your ascendant or from the ascendant and where they lie in your particular chart. So with the Capricorn rising, Jupiter and Saturn will be transiting your first house. All right. You can benefit from it. Do we have any Capricorn risings? Give me a thumbs up if we have a Capricorn rising in the house. All right. You can benefit from involving yourself in large scale, long-term projects. All right. Building an entity slowly over a long period of time for a stable future. International business potential is indicated here. Whatever you Capricorn rising people do, you will engage in some sort of major personal sacrifice in your involvement in this long-term project. The Capricorn rising, because you are a workaholic, some of you will lose some people. There will be people that you leave behind in pursuit of this big idea that you are pursuing, right? You could become an expert in whatever it is that you are pursuing in these next 20 years, and it begins in this next 12 to 15 months, okay? A life-changing opportunity will present itself through a major commitment that you make, as well as with hard work and at sacrifice, okay? Good luck will come to you, dear Capricorn rising, with consistent effort. You cannot give up. There will be people who will fall by the wayside. There will be some who are going to start off with you gung-ho, but they won't last 2 years, 5 years, or 7 years, right? There will be very few who will be left standing when the smoke clears at the end of this transit. But good luck favors you if you are consistent and you work hard, all right? And what will happen is that hard work and consistency will collide with a chance meeting or a sudden opportunity that propels this project. And that could take place in 7 years from the start of it. That could take place in 12 years from the start of it. But whenever it takes place, it's going to propel you and give you profits and give you energy to continue on into the next decade of the project. Everybody is not going to be cut for this. It's, you know, this is there's people who don't even have the patience. There's people who don't have the patience to continue what they start. You know, a lot of people are going to start some things in the next 12 months, and they'll put it down. They'll pick it up in 2 years and put it down, and half-ass it in a year and a half after that. But the one who sticks with it and treats it like a marathon, at the end of the cycle, they are going to score big, right? There are startups, Capricorn. You will benefit from startups because you have the wherewithal. You have the wherewithal to grind this out. This is from the Western sidereal perspective. So, Kanisha, this would be, okay, so you're asking Vedic or Western. This is, for lack of a better term, well, for a synonymous term, Vedic astrology and Western sidereal are nearly synonymous. So that's what we're talking about. So if you are here for your tropical sign, you can listen to that and the sign before it to get an idea of what's good for you. Okay. Capricorn, start a startup with the intention of turning this thing into a major corporation. Say that again. Capricorn, a startup business, whatever that startup is, you stay with it and you have the intention in turning this into a U.S. major corporation in 20 years. Or you are pioneering a new industry or a new product. You are beginning this thing working alone at first, perhaps in your garage or in your basement. Perhaps there's a new twist on an old idea here. You know, there's something existing right now. You've been working in a particular industry for the last 15 or 20 years, and you've been trying to get your company to do a certain thing. They won't go along with it. Well, now it's time to get started, nights and weekends, in your garage or in your basement, working on this idea. And if you stick with it, in 20 years, your children's children can begin benefiting off what you start right now. Sagittarius rising. Second house. Second house is where this transit falls for you. The second house is the house that rules our personal finances and how we come about them. Material things, material value, things that our personal belongings and our self-worth and our self-esteem, all ruled by the second house, okay? For Sagittarius rising, for some of you, a new way to operate a restaurant. Starting a family business that you will pass down to a generation that follows you. Starting a new or getting involved in a retail franchise. Buying and selling wholesale. Thumbs up for any Sagittarius risings in the house. Buying or selling retail, or wholesale, I should say. Writing a cookbook. Starting a school of arts. Getting into financial services as a profession, or growing a financial services business. A startup bank connected to cryptocurrencies as opposed to the US dollar. That could be a really good one. Lecturing, finding a way to get on the lecture circuit on ways to make and save money. Investing in the arts. That means once your money is up, buying art to shelter some of your money, okay? Securing multiple streams of income. Sagittarius rising, some of you will need to change your mindset regarding money before you start down this path. Some of you may have a poverty mentality about money. Saturn in the second house can rule a lack of, or Capricorn in the second house can speak to a lack of discipline in terms of managing finances. Okay. It can also speak to finding other streams of income. Okay. Sagittarius rising can also benefit from a new way to antique business, getting into antiques on some level. And finally, perhaps this could be a long shot for some, starting a music group and profiting off of it down the road. Scorpio rising. This is a third house transit for you. The third house in astrology, excuse me, the third house in astrology rules early childhood education, how we think and learn. It rules local transportation, ground transportation. It rules the highways and byways of America, short trips and communication, and technology like social media, internet, cell phones, pagers, computers, tablets, and all of these things. Okay? Internet technology is another. Scorpio rising, some of you can take your IT skills to another level by going to school or learning coding to getting into it. Getting into IT by learning coding or taking it to another level by going to school and expanding upon the knowledge that you've already acquired over the last 10, 20 years. Some of you can finally seek employment in IT security. Scorpios specialize, and Scorpio energy itself is very good at getting to the bottom of things. So getting into IT security, and security is a Capricorn thing, a Saturn thing. So getting into IT security with Capricorn in the third house is an ideal thing. Teaching in general, both Saturn and Jupiter correspond to teachers. Jupiter is the guru and the great teacher. Saturn is also a teacher in his own right, as the father. Fathers are often teachers. Okay, both planets correspond with teaching. So the Scorpio rising, a teaching business or tutoring online in some way. Aligning yourself with technology to secure driverless vehicles, to lease to trucking companies, to livery companies. We just talked about that. The Scorpio rising in particular can benefit from that. So start working on your credit to position yourself to get into leasing vehicles, driverless vehicles to trucking companies and taxi companies, because these companies cannot and will not own all of these vehicles. It's just cost prohibitive for them to do it. So they will be outsourcing. Form yourself an LLC and start the process of putting together the credit wherewithal so that you can, when it's time, purchase 5 or 10 vehicles at once and lease them. And now you got a source of income that's working for itself. Okay. Finding a niche in a construction or carpentry to exploit. Let me repeat that. Scorpio risings can find a niche in construction or carpentry to exploit, right? A niche in construction or carpentry. I don't know what that means. If you are into that type of work, you might already have an idea. So if that's the case, go for it. Selling figurines online. Anybody know the story of eBay? Anybody know the story of eBay, how eBay got started? As legend has it, eBay was started by these people who were buying or trading Pez candy dispensers. Pez, P-E-Z, candy dispensers. And it grew from there to now where it's generating hundreds of millions of dollars a year in fees, allowing people to buy, sell, and trade products and services, right? Very much a third house entity, very much a third house entity. And it started out by selling Pez dispenser figurines, right? So there may be something from your childhood that you are fascinated by, that you might have been collecting, starting a platform to sell those things. Maybe it's Cabbage Patch Baby or something along those lines. What was those little, the Smurfs? Maybe it's the little Smurfs figurines. Remember the Smurf figurines? Maybe it's that. Who knows? G.I. Joe, I don't give a damn what it is. Some kind of figurine, you know, from your childhood, you might be fascinated with still today. Find a way to turn that thing into a business. Or, because it's a third house thing, an online magazine or blog, or finding a way to turning your writing into a business. Maybe you are skilled at poetry. Maybe you are Scorpio rising, skilled at poetry, or skilled at writing erotica. Find a way to turn that into an income and stick with it. It may evolve into something else, but get started. Okay. Another idea, a new way to stream music. I don't know what that means. But if you are already in a Scorpio rising and already into that scene, then there may come an opportunity for you to turn that into something else. A new streaming service of sorts, okay? There may also be an opportunity for online travel agency or getting into the travel business in general. One other thing is Airbnb as a business. Airbnb as a business. That means you're getting yourself a piece of real estate for the sole purpose of turning it into an Airbnb. Now, that's going to be a slow process because right now the travel industry is on life support, but it will come back. So if that's a thought that you've been thinking on, I give you the full endorsement to go ahead with that. And by the time Jupiter is in Aquarius in 2022, from the sidereal perspective, the travel industry should start opening up then. And that would be a really good time to get going. Libra rising, fourth house transit. Fourth house rules real estate and homes for the purpose of this reading. Real estate and homes. I bet I got a boogie because this is going to stop at 6 o'clock. All right. Large scale real estate. Right? So with Jupiter in the fourth house, this is commercial real estate. This is getting into homes. And now, this does not necessarily mean becoming a licensed real estate agent, although it could mean that. It does not necessarily mean that. There's more than one way to skin a cat. But you want to get started into real estate, and your idea is to graduate into commercial real estate or managing multiple properties, starting small and growing over a period of time, okay? Starting a construction company with earth-moving vehicles. This is large-scale shit here, okay? This is large-scale stuff, right? A brick recycling business. Why brick? Well, it's fourth house, it's Saturn, right? Saturn here, in the fourth house. Saturn rules rock, stone, brick. Jupiter is recycling that stuff, making it new. All right. On a more domestic level, a new twist on a maid or home services service. You know, a new way to become a maid, a new way to do a house cleaning service, a new way to nanny. Who knows? I don't know what that means. Perhaps utilizing some form of technology in terms of running a maid service. Investing in land and or cattle. Investing in land and or cattle. All right, y'all trying to mute somebody.
Yeah.
Give me 1 second, y'all. Mute somebody. All right. Okay. A new way to farm for Libra risings. A new way to farm. Yes, there will be a recording, Jacqueline. There will be a recording. And I will post that on my page. Okay? So for, again, Libra rising, a new way to farm, perhaps a new way to garden. Maybe you're a creative type. Maybe you're a creative type and you come up with a new way to garden in the home. You come up with some sort of kit. You develop a kit for people to start gardening in their home. We're going through a food crisis right now. And then there's an opportunity here. There is a big opportunity, okay? Another idea for you Libra risings is a work from home business or a online retail business for new mothers. And finally, a new way to run a nursing home or a new way to offer in-home nursing for those Libra risings who might be in the medical industry or the medical field. Virgo rising, this is a 5th house transit for you. 5th house is the house of Leo. It's about creativity and children and speculative investments, among other things, right? Children, children, creativity, and speculative investments, among other things. So a creative arts school for children, a new, more efficient way of investing that might entail some sort of technology and new ways or new forms of investment like Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, Forex, and the like. A business connecting technology and health, a center of health that's dedicated and related to children, perhaps for special needs, okay? Publishing children's literature or teaching children healthcare in a natural way, or a school teaching healthcare to children, natural healthcare or holistic health, or teaching children about high finance, okay? Becoming a stockbroker or a professional investor, financial planning or long-term investing, business promoting or managing creative types or artistic types, or even athletes. Okay, again, let's talk about that. Representing or promoting or managing creative people like singers, artists, dancers, artistic types, or athletes. Okay, so on some level, this might require a little understanding of the law, you know, or perhaps even they require some to go into law to make sure they handle this right. But managing creative types on some sort of level is indicated here. Okay. Finally, for the Virgo rising, creative writing or niche reporting in terms of entertainment or gossip blogger. So the idea here is you might be one of those people who are fascinated by the entertainment industry, and you start your own channel just talking about, and there's a million of these people, Real Housewives of Tupelo, Mississippi, whatever they call it these days. There's people who just have, this is all they do on their YouTube channel is talk about this kind of stuff, you know. So for some Virgo rising, this may be an idea where you could do something along those lines. It's not being done right now, okay? Leo rising, this puts Capricorn in your 6th house. The 6th house is the house of our daily routine. It's the house of service that we give to others, okay? It is the house of the things that we do on a daily basis. It's our co-workers, it's health, it's hygiene. It's also the house of job opportunities, It is also the house of service to other people and the house that rules pets. For the Leo rising, this could be an accounting firm for the entertainment industry or a physical trainer business for the athletic types. Finding work in government as an auditor, a new approach to banking, reworking for-profit prisons, or finding a way to profit off of prisons. I mean, it sounds fucked up, but we look, capitalism don't have no room for morality. It's all about making money. And when it comes to making money, morality just go right out of the window. So, you know, there's some who could profit off of prison. Okay. For the Leo rising, a new approach to janitorial service, right? Post-COVID janitorial service. Something that does not exist right now that you can score on because everybody's afraid of the germ. Becoming an entertainment critic, you know, becoming an entertainment critic. That goes right along in line with what I was just talking about with the Virgo in the fifth house, Capricorn in the fifth house. This can also correspond here in the sixth house. A startup of a new regulatory body, because the sixth house is the house of regulation, and Saturn is a regulatory planet. So there may be an industry that does not exist right now that will need regulation. And it's going to be some critical eye who will see that, hey, this particular company is going to hurt the economy one day or hurt the environment one day. So you have this idea of rolling out a regulatory body. So you're in this for the long haul. You're in this for the long haul. You're not going to make, a lot of these ideas are not going to be making money in the first couple of years. All right. This is a marathon, not a sprint. So this is something that you're going to be into for a minute. Okay. Combining entertainment and fitness. When I wrote that, I thought of Richard Simmons. Richard Simmons, for those of us who were children in the 80s, you know, we wake up in the morning, 6, 7 o'clock in the morning, turn on the TV, and we see Richard Simmons doing aerobics, you know, and it was flooded on cable TV in the early days of cable TV. You know, every channel had Richard Simmons dancing on it, or some sort of dance aerobics. This was the early days of this kind of idea that I'm talking about right now. There's a new generation of entertainment and fitness coming. I don't know what it looks like. Some Leo rising already has a creative idea. Some Leo rising already has a creative idea. Get busy on it. New fashions and new designs in fitness wear. This is also a Leo creation in the sixth house. Just waiting on it. And finally, rethinking veterinarian care post-COVID. Cancer rising, seventh house. Seventh house is the house of partnerships. And anyone outside of the individual we look at in the mirror. This house closely relates to Libra or closely associates with Libra. And we are talking about cooperative ventures. So whatever you do, Cancer rising, you are also thinking about incorporating and making something, creating something that is designed to become a major entity in business. The first indication here is cooperative banking. I don't know what that means to you, but cooperative banking or a new way of banking, okay? A new way of banking. And there is a number of things that are already in play right now. There's a number of black banks that are coming about. There are banks that are focused solely on cryptocurrencies. There's going to be other types of banks. I've recently been hearing the term land banking. Land banking. Look into that. Okay. Organizing contractors for the 21st and the 22nd century. Cancer. Organizing contractors for the 21st and the 22nd century. Right. The world is changing. Right. So there are needs that cannot be met right now in some burgeoning industries that are, anyway, I don't want to get sidetracked. Another idea for the Cancer rising, legal consulting firms for these new industries that are coming about. There is a politically astute Cancer rising out there who may not be in the audience right now, but may hear this recording sometime in the not too distant future. You may be responsible or instrumental in helping develop and discover a new political party. I have made the prediction several years ago that the 2020s will change the face of politics in the United States. This particular election has the potential to put a stake through the heart of one of the two parties and probably both parties. Now, while they may both, the Democrats and Republicans, live in name, the face of the party is about to change. And I really believe that the face of the Democrat Party, the face of the Republican Party may become dark-skinned by the end of this decade. There's historical correspondence to that. Prior to the 1960s, the Republican Party was largely the party of the Black man. It was discovered and created by us in the 1880s. It may come back to that. We are seeing people waking up to, so while a lot of us are emotionally connected to these parties, in the grand scheme, neither party serves our needs. But the party that can easily serve the needs of the people, large swaths of people, is the Conservative Party. It doesn't look like it today because in most of our lifetime, since the Reagan years and even before then, that party was the house, and it housed the open racists, people who did not like Black people, also are conservatives. But in the Democrat Party, the most insidious racism lies there. People who claim to speak for the Black people in America and those who claim to speak for minorities in general in the Democrat Party are the liberals that Malcolm X warned us about. Joe Biden is one of those liberals who is as racist as Trump is accused of being. But, anyway, I got sidetracked on politics. Bottom line here is a Cancer rising. A Cancer rising is going to be going to play a major role in starting a new political party in the future, right? And also there is going to be some political consulting that's going to come out. New political consulting businesses are going to come out of this this period under a Cancer rising. Okay, services, a business where you are providing services dedicated to the legal industries or judges in general. Cancer rising, if you have a business, incorporate it, just incorporate it. Even if you don't know what the hell to do with the business, incorporate it. and align with the energy. Okay. Services, starting a business where you providing services for foreign diplomats. I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means to you individually, right? And finally, a new age lobby for new age banks. Banking system is about to change. Gemini rising, 8th house. The 8th house is the house of Scorpio. And try to kick it in the ass here. I got 4 houses and I got 15 minutes. So I think we can get it all in, and hopefully I'll be able to answer some questions to the dozen people who are still here. All right. Gemini rising. The 8th house is the house of taxes, insurance, license, regulations, banking, stock market, occult science, sex, a few other things. In terms of what Gemini risings can do, occult work, astrology, tarot, divination, investing in banking, foreign stocks and currencies, earning money from disasters. This could mean insurance work. This could mean getting into life insurance, right? Turning some sort of investigations. All right. Let me rephrase that. Starting a research business or getting into investigations. This could mean law enforcement. This could mean becoming a private investigator on some level. Okay. Financial planning and financial services is indicated. A new approach to therapy is indicated. Combining self-help and technology is indicated. Brokering deals, becoming a broker of some sort is also indicated for Gemini rising. Self-help industry, getting into the self-help or the divination arts as an instructor. And finally, a new approach to the mortuary business or mortician. So the idea that came to mind here when I wrote that was, there's this new company that is that's taking your dead body and planting it with a tree, right? It's a pod. They bury you, and there's a tree over top you, and that's the idea. That's what's going on in terms of a new way to, graveyards don't expand, do they? What are they doing with the bodies? Graveyards don't expand. So I don't know, I'm curious. What are they doing with the bodies? So at some point, there's going to be a new way to deal with even the graveyards, deal with the cemeteries. I think the cemetery would be more related to the 12th house. It could because of the taxidermy as it relates to the 8th house, and the 8th house is also mortuary. It could also tie into that as well. A new way of approaching those two businesses are also favored by Gemini rising. 9th house, Taurus rising. The 9th house is all things international. It is international travel. It is higher education, religion, philosophy, law, and international travel. It is publishing. It is advertising. It is broadcasting on a global or mass scale. It is long distance communication. It is long distance travel as well. Taurus rising. This is your 9th house. Services related to travel post-COVID. There's a Taurus rising with a brilliant idea who is working on a new airline that's going to revolutionize the way we travel. It may be a discount airline, I don't know what it's going to look like, but there's going to be a new way of traveling coming out of this COVID crisis. There could be a new approach to Taurus rising with a new approach to higher education. Colleges have exposed themselves with COVID-19 as well. So there's going to be a new way of approaching that, making it less expensive than it is. Once upon a time, you could work part-time at a grocery store and pay your way through college. That's been in my lifetime. I was a little kid when it could happen, when people were doing that, when they were working weekend job to pay for their college education. Those days may come back post COVID and post economy crash, the next one that's coming. Okay? Long distance communication and international calling, getting into that business as a wholesaler or a reseller of those of communication, long distance communication, even though we have cell phones and even though we have all these different ways of communicating, even though we have these things, there is still a huge, huge market for people calling across international lines with telephones, right? So new ways of getting into that, or getting into it as a reseller or a broker or a middleman. Organizing a new commercial airline, I just spoke about that. A new institution of specialized higher learning. This could be some new industry related to law or to science or to philosophy or religion. I don't know what this is going to look like. Don't know what this is going to look like. But some new institution is going to be born in these next couple of years off of this energy. An institution that teaches teachers in preparation for the next generation of homeschooling and to exploit the flaws that have been exposed through distance learning, right? Exposing the flaws or filling the niche that the flaws of the exposure of the flaws for education right now. All you gotta do is look at the news. You see, and talk to people who are trying to homeschool their kids. You know what's going on. All right. Let me hurry up. I feel like Farrakhan right now. A new approach to law school or theology school, organizing an institution dedicated to fathers, an organization or an institution dedicated to helping men become better fathers. And finally, theology for the Aquarian age. Theology for the Aquarian age. That's going to be the school of thought that ushers in the new savior that's going to replace Jesus from the Piscean age, right? And that's a subject for another story, for another day. All right, Aries in the 10th house, or Aries rising, this puts Capricorn in the 10th house. Some of you are thinking about the military. Some of you are probably young in your 20s, maybe in your 30s, thinking about the military. Officers candidate school. Do not go in as an enlisted man. Or a career, or you'll become a career government person, career military person in general. Starting a leadership training program. If you are seasoned, 40s, 50 years old, looking for some new challenge, a leadership training program that teaches and trains the next generation of leaders in a particular industry, right? A liaison between foreign and domestic governments, or an institution of higher learning, becoming the head of an institution of higher learning. An athlete's agency, starting an agency for athletes. For Aries rising, you're natural leaders. So this is something, all of these things are leadership positions and things that you can do, that you can start and stick with it. Whatever you do, Aries, stick with it. You always have big ideas. And you got a lot of big ideas that's laying on the cutting room floor that you never finished. Well, this one, start it and stay with it, and your grandchildren will thank you, right? Political consulting, religion as a business, a business related to travel and international services that provide these services for people who are in leadership positions, right? And for all of you, if you want more specific insight, I can give you a reading. Just connect with me, and you can get a reading on this stuff in particular, specifically. Okay? Pisces rising. This puts Capricorn in your 11th house. Community organizing, humanitarian organizations, humanitarian organizations, a new approach to social work, a new socialist lobby organization. And I say socialism because after Jupiter and Saturn transit through Capricorn, which is about conservatism, they're going to go through the sign of Aquarius, which is about socialism. So we're going to get a dose of each. We're going to get a new dose of of conservatism first, and a reworking of capitalism in this transit of Jupiter and Saturn. And then we're going to get a dose of socialism when Saturn moves into sidereal Aquarius in 2023. Jupiter is going to be there in 2022, right? So then we'll start to see some of these Bernie Sanders-like policies rolled into play in those years. But there's going to be a lobbyist organization that starts in this period of time. A new approach, a new age approach to teaching teachers, right? Team building organization is something Pisces risings can get into. New social media platforms will be born in this time, possibly at the hands of a Pisces rising. Violence reduction organizations. This would be a response to the lack of response to what about black on black crime? Well, there's going to be a Pisces rising person who starts or probably is already doing something related to violence reduction, and we'll start to hear about it in the next couple of years. A new spin on nonprofits for Pisces rising, as well as financial gains and inheritance consultings and teaching teachers. Finally, Aquarius rising, this is 12th house, prison work, business in foreign nations, teaching spiritual, teaching spiritual or religious workers in some way. A business where you're focused on psychology or metaphysical psychology practice. Maybe some of you may consider going to school to get your psychology degree or to finish that psychology degree and starting that practice. Hospital work, hospital services, a business focused on providing services to hospitals, post-COVID again. A seasonal business, a business that is going on from this period of time to this period of time in the year, most likely in a cold weather, in the cold weather months. This could be a service plowing snow or a Christmas seasonal thing. I don't know what it is, but a seasonal business for you Aquarius rising, something that's part-time, temporary, something that's sporadic, fits the Aquarian nature. All right, travel work, specifically cruises, and finally, self-employment where you work alone. That is the 12 signs of the zodiac with these planets in the houses. Anybody got any questions? Any questions? Thank you, Jacqueline, for your comments. I appreciate that. You've been a fan for a long time. Finally, glad to put a face with the name. Thank you, Asia. Anybody else? Anybody have any questions? Let's get this money, guys. Let's get this money. If there's an idea, that I gave you, or that something I said sparked an idea, please run with it. Please run with it. Stay with it. This transit can help us give ourselves and change, give ourselves reparation and literally change our lives. So again, thank you for joining me. I really appreciate you guys taking time out of your day with me, and I will post this on my page when the recording is done. And I will see you in the next event.